Good morning, good evening, and good afternoon, wherever you are in the world, and welcome to another episode of The Infinite Way, where spirituality meets humanity. And it brings me great pleasure to introduce a woman who is a speaker, an international psychic medium, Priscilla Gendron of South Africa, of course. She is a healer and an owner of director of the Spirit Lifestyle Festival and the co-owner of the Wellness Lifestyle Online Conference. I welcome to you, Priscilla. Thank you, Priscilla, for joining us.
Well, thank you, Anelia, for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
Oh, it's so wonderful to have you here. And is South Africa treating you well?
Yes, well, we start on our conversation because, as usual, in Africa, the electricity decides to work or it doesn't. So everything has to always be rearranged at the last minute. But otherwise, it's treating me well.
Beautiful, beautiful. So there are so many things I want to start off with because I know that you identify as a psychic. And to me, that is a gift. What a blessing and a gift. And could you share with us like a little bit of growing up and having this innate gift and when your moment of recognition came in?
Hmm. I've always been psychic. I think, a psychic is born and not made kind of thing. Um,
Mm-hmm.
for me, I always had a sixth sense, or I always felt different or knew things or understood things without having any kind of knowledge that I knew them, in a sense, or knowing that it was anything different than my life. From a very young age, I would sense people around me, um, and I would know places that we'd never been to before, which would really shock my parents at times. I'd understand where things were and places that we'd never been to. So I always felt very different, and I kept it very private because, coming from a very religious Roman Catholic background, you didn't talk about that sort of stuff. It wasn't, bandied about and allowed to be, front and center. But there was a lot of intuition in the family, but not to the extent of what I eventually developed into. And it was only when I decided to spread my wings and leave South Africa and go to the UK for a bit did the floodgates really open for me. It was a much more accepting place of my gifts and abilities. And I just opened the door, and suddenly it all came flooding out. And it was a sort of a mixture of like awe and anxiety, because it's not always something that people appreciate or consider to be, your go-to kind of thing. So it's been an interesting journey for me. And I remember when I came back to South Africa, and I would ask people who would ask me, so what do you do for a living? And I'd say to them, oh, I'm a spiritual counselor. I wouldn't tell them that I'm a psychic medium, because it was all just too much for them to handle. And I remember one day going to see a new school for my son, and the woman said to me, oh, so what do you do for a living? And I was about to say spiritual counselor, and suddenly my mouth opened and said, I'm a psychic medium. She goes, oh, I love psychics. I'm so happy. And we became friends after that. So it was an interesting thing for me to say, okay, I need to just be who I need to be, whether people approve of it or not, to stop hiding behind other things and just be. And when I decided that, my life just exploded in a good way. It allowed my
Yes.
gift to grow and be what it needs to be. Hence
It's
where I am today.
That's beautiful, beautiful. When you talk about the psychic mediumship, right? What is the difference between the psychic mediumship versus the channeler? Because sometimes we use these terms so loosely, and
Yes.
and people don't understand the difference between each of the gifts.
Exactly. So in my own interpretation, and everybody's interpretation is going to be different. A channeler is somebody who channels the energy. So they open themselves up to the person who will channel through them. I don't like to do that sort of thing. I presume I could do it, but I choose not to, because I feel as if I would lose control over what I'm doing and saying. For me, it's about you channeling. You know, it's like doing trance mediumship, where you let the energy flow through you, and you just become like a conduit, a telephone.
Right,
You pick up
right.
the
Okay.
telephone, it all just comes through, and then you have the messages coming through. Whereas with a psychic medium, you're picking up the person's past, present, future. You're picking up, because I've got the mediumship with it, I also pick up the person's deceased loved ones, things like that. I also can channel, sometimes I can do pets and animals, sometimes I can do their spirit guides or people that want to, you know, give them messages and stuff like that. A lot of the time it is their deceased loved ones, and I focus on that. And the psychic part of it is the development of giving them the past, present, future, where they've been, where they are now, where they're going, the possible choices they can make. So it's giving them a bit of like counseling without them having to tell me anything about their lives. And that's what I
Mm,
think fascinates them, is that I counsel them and say, look, this is where you've been, this is where you are, this is where you could go, A, B, or C, because everybody has free will and free choice. I don't say this is the only path and you can't do anything else. I say, you know, if you go left, you're going to do this, and if you go right, you're going to do that. You have the choice which path to take, because then you can't blame it on anybody else, because you've made that choice.
yes, yes.
And I'm giving them
So,
that preempting of what can happen.
okay, okay. So I want to go back to your youth and when you said the whole world opened up to you, because I've met people who are gifted before, and a lot of people go through a denial period, or they go through a period of time when they're adjusting to their gift and getting used to it and truly embracing it. And the ability to know, and having a sense of knowing is a powerful tool, because you have a sense of knowing when someone's lying. You have a sense
Yes.
of knowing when someone is putting on a facade. And we meet and greet many people who put on facades, who aren't their authentic selves. How did you deal with that growing up? How did you deal with the fact that, in essence, you could see to the heart of a human being all around you, to be able to navigate this life, and it has a significant impact?
Yeah. You know, I had a quite a complicated kind of life. I wouldn't say it wasn't a loving life. It was an incredibly loving life within my family. But as a child, I was very ill. From the age of about 11 months, I got incredibly ill. I got a condition called Stevens-Johnson syndrome, which is where you have a hyperallergic reaction to medication. Every
Okay.
time I had a very bad immune system, and every time they would immunize me, I got the condition incredibly badly. And so then they would give me antibiotics, and eventually it destroyed my immune system completely. I ended up being airlifted to another city, and I was in ICU. I ended up being resuscitated twice as a child. So it made me feel very different. And I think that including the gift made me feel incredibly different. So in essence of not being made to feel any more different than I really was, I would keep my gift a secret. So it was very much of things like, oh, I'm so itching to say something or do something or feel something, and I just suppress it. And I think I did that for my entire childhood until I reached a stage where I went overseas, and then the floodgates just opened then. But the whole time through my childhood and teenage years, and for most people going through teenage years is there's a lot of angst with it. So to be made to feel even more different than you already are, because you can't do certain things, you're a little bit more sensitive to others, and then you
Right.
add that on top of it, it was just too much. And so I did suppress it quite a lot, or keep it secret quite a lot.
You know, when I was in being trained as a shaman, one of the things that were always told to us is that like the wounded warrior always makes the best healer. And I know that you spent a period of time in South Africa, you spent a period of time in UK. Which were you traversing during that time when you finally opened up? Were you in the UK? Did you find that more opening, or were you back in South Africa? And what was it like in the two environments in terms of acceptance when you finally decided to embark on your gift and make it known?
I was it was when I left and went to the UK. That's when the floodgates opened for me. I found that it was okay to say who you were. It was okay to see a psychic. It was okay to go and do all these things, or to delve into these things. I did little mini courses. I trained to be a Reiki master, and I just developed myself from there, because it was a lot more open and a lot more, I think, living in Africa, it's not a very open-minded place sometimes when it comes to things that are different. So I found it very difficult, as a youngster and as a young adult, before I went to overseas, to embrace the gift and allow myself to be who I needed to be. But it was when I was in the UK, the floodgates opened, and it was just such an emotional release for me, because I thought, I can finally be who I need to be.
Right.
The fact is, I even opened up my own little shop, and I would do readings and have courses, and I just absolutely loved it. It was just like, okay, I found my place in the world.
So then what drew you back to South Africa, and why?
I think that I've just got the soul of the gypsy.
Okay.
So my feet get itchy, and I want to travel and explore, and I'd love to be able to just, I have all these visions of having an RV or Winnebago, and just being able to get in that, and off I go and just traverse the world and things like that, and just do what I need to do and have my gifts, and be able to use them, around the world. So I felt like, sometimes we make choices and decisions in our lives, and sometimes we think, oh, well, I'm going to come back. And I came back in the first time in 2004. It was just something. I mean, things had been happening and stuff, and I thought, oh, I'm just going to go home. I've had enough now. I'm going to go back to South Africa, and I'm just going to go and enjoy it. So, packed my bags and my boxes, and off we went. Came back to South Africa, and that was in 2004. And then within a couple of months, I just opened up a little business with two other ladies that were doing something similar to me in a little town that you think, oh my God, how are these people going to take what I'm doing? But it was received well.
Okay.
So it was fun. And then I kept on feeling like there's something that's bringing me back. There's a reason I'm back for some reason. I thought, well, maybe I'm meant to help people. And then suddenly a little baby landed on my lap.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And I was like, okay. I looked into this child's eyes, and this child looked into mine, and that was it. It was like, this was the reason. And I ended up adopting him. And within a couple of months, and that's really unheard of, to have such a very quick adoption. Within 6 months, he was fully adopted. And it was an incredible journey for me. It changed my life completely, because I thought, well, okay, now I'm not just on my own. I can't just do what I want to do. So I stayed in South Africa for quite a while, for about 10 years, I think. And then I decided to take my son, and we went back to the UK again.
Okay.
Um,
Wow.
but then I had been fully stepping into who I was, doing events and courses and teaching and being a full-time psychic. Also then doing charity work, doing a whole lot of things. And then I went to the UK and I fully just embraced my work and was a full-time psychic medium in the UK. It was a lot more accepted there. I used to go and do events almost, weekly. Go to do events around all the little different towns in England. So it was a lot more accepting there. Then we came back again. We've been back for 5 years now, and it's a little bit different than it used to be, but it is still, when I'm doing my advertising, I can't just advertise anywhere I want to advertise. You've got to do like-minded places and stuff like that, because there is still that the blinkers are still on in terms of people being accepting of your gifts and abilities. But it interests me because you'll have people who will say, "Oh, no, I don't believe in that stuff. Don't talk to me about that stuff. It's voodoo stuff,"
Yeah, it's
Um,
amazing that people have that attitude. I don't understand that. Yeah, but go ahead. Yeah.
and then the one day, somebody had been particularly vocal about that, and then a couple of years later, the person's mother passed away, and about a month after the mom passed away, I got a message from her saying to her, "Hi, just wanted to touch base. I'm really struggling with my mom's loss and stuff like that." And she effectively wanted me to channel her mum and do a crossing over. And I was like, that's interesting. Very religious and very, adamant that you did, I was voodoo. But when it came down to it, I was able to give her what she needed to fix things within her own heart and things like that. So for me, I love the skeptic. I love the one that doesn't believe, because then I can give them irrefutable proof, messages, or tell them things that they've never had or knew about, or that I possibly couldn't know about. And I love
Yeah.
that. And I love when spirit works through me, because it's not me doing it. I'm just the messenger. I'm just the person, the conduit. I'm the mouthpiece in a sense. And sometimes I'll say something. I thought, damn, that was good. I better write that down, because that was quite a good little nugget of information, and whoop, it's gone. So
Yeah.
it's quite
So
interesting.
you came back to South Africa. Okay, so I spent some time in South Africa, only in Johannesburg, uh, Eagle Valley, outside of Vicksburg, near the Lesotho border and everything. One of the
Yes.
things that I learned about South Africa is that there is an incredible healing taking place. Okay, that there's a lot of healing that needs to go on from South Africa's history. And how did you fare? Your gift, like anyone who knows you, like I know you a little bit. I don't know you in your full breadth, but I know you a little bit. You're an incredible person that bridges people. Your gift is absolutely amazing. If anyone ever wants a reading, you come highly recommended. I mean, you do the calming, the peace that you bring through the messages, the intuitiveness is just off the charts. It's phenomenal. And we
Thank
thank
you.
you for that. Yes, absolutely. So here you are in South Africa. Here you are in an incredible place that needs a lot of healing, and that you can see and feel and almost literally taste all of it's the pain that's taken place. How do you work with it? How do you develop and set up something like the Spirit Lifestyle Festival or the Wellness Lifestyle Conference, knowing that you're in a place that needs incredible healing, that has a long way to go in its journey for healing? Where do you begin?
Yeah. I think one of my biggest things is that one person can make a difference, in whether it is in a small way or a big way. But when you unite and you join the dots, and that's what I'm called, I'm the dot joiner. When you join the dots of several people, you raise that and elevate that energy to greater heights. So your
Mm-hmm.
your energy and your healing whether it's for the planet, for the country, for unity, for helping people. When you join more than one person together and you become a collective, that's when you have a more powerful impact in what you're doing, whether it's locally or internationally or globally, whatever it is. You have a much bigger goal and an objective that can help you heal the planet. For me, I always feel like there's no need to be jealous or, be possessive of what you have, okay? Because it's being given to you, it can be taken away, whether you like that or not. Right. So it feels like the more I help others, I help myself, because I grow as a person. My channeling and my mediumship grows because it's given the right platform, and I'm surrounded by the right people that can then help me. And I call everybody my soul family, because those people that you draw around you and draw together, that are just incredible. It's taken me a long time to find who I am as a person, and all I want to do for people is to generally help them to bring out the best within themselves. So if I can create a platform that can help them to elevate them from A to B, even if it's just from A to B, it doesn't have to be from A to Z, just from A to B, then I'm happy to do that. And I do that within the Spirit Lifestyle Festival. I do it in the Wellness Lifestyle Conference. We started off doing the Spirit Lifestyle Festival, and a month before we were supposed to go live and do a real live in-person one, the world went into shutdown. And so I had to scramble, and I think, well, I can't lose everything. And people still need to do what they need to do. And that's when I teamed up with another person, and we developed the Wellness Lifestyle Conference online, because I wasn't as clued up with all the technical stuff needed to put on something online. I could do the other work, but not the online technical stuff. And within, I think there was the March, and by the July, we launched our first 3-day conference. And that went on for a number of years, where we would have monthly conferences. And we built up a team of 300 speakers from 19 countries.
Wow.
And for me, that was the biggest awakening of everything, because I was just working South Africa, South Africans, and, maybe one or two little internationals. But I was just focusing on the people here, present in this country. Okay. And what, the lockdown did for me was expose me to the world and allowed me to realize that, okay, I can have a global initiative that can help a lot more people. And that's where the Wellness Lifestyle Conference came along. And then I also started the Mystic Minds Network, which is just psychics, numerologists, past life readers, Vedic astrologers, and we have a team of 14. So at any given time when I do my online event, there's between 10 and 14 different psychics and mediums and numerologists and stuff on the event, and you've attended one of them, so you know what it's like. And we just have such a fun time. And for me, I just sit back and I enjoy it, because I don't participate in it, and I just run it, and I just get such joy listening to all the messages. And a lot of the people that come on, a lot of them are my clients. And people say, but why are you bringing your clients on that? Somebody else will take them. I said, well, if they need second opinion, they're perfectly entitled to go for a second, third, fourth opinion.
Right.
So, and if they want to go and see somebody else, that's fine. And they get to have an amazing event, and I get to see how other people interpret their lives. And you'll see a lot of the times on the video, I'll go like this and I have my thumbs up like, yes, you said the right thing. And I'd say to them after, you see, I also told you so. So now I listen to the advice. And that's always such a wonderful confirmation to me that the messages I'm getting from Spirit is the right thing.
Yeah, and you're truly a bridge in that respect too. I just watch you connect many, many people. I've met many beautiful people through you, and I thank you for that so, so much. And then what I also learned is that everybody's style is slightly different. You know,
Yes.
that everybody's ability to read and to be intuitive and how they see, how they perceive, how they even connect are vastly different. You want to comment on that a little bit?
Yeah, and that's the joy of why I do it, is that everybody's different. It's not like a cookie cutter, copy and paste, copy and paste, copy and paste. It's
Right.
like, you know, 14 individual people that have a gift that connects them to spirit and the divine, and how they interpret it, how spirit connect and work through them. For me, I find that the most fascinating. And I've been doing this for over 35 years professionally, and I still am in awe of what happens, what comes out of my own mouth and what comes out of the mouths of others that I work with. So for me, I find that incredibly fascinating. And I love diversity. So I love people to be different and have a different perspective, because that gives somebody else, because I might interpret it this way, but somebody else will say it in a different way that will resonate more with the person than if I said it.
Right.
And I think that's what it's how it's said to the person, so that they can accept it in the way that they need to. But
Mm,
everybody's got a very unique style, so I find that quite fascinating.
okay. So here it is. You have this beautiful innate gift to read, and I know that people are probably, our audience is probably itching to like want to ask you a question just to see that connection take place. So instead of me asking you a question, I would say, is there anything that you would want to share about me, just to share with our audience the ability and how that connection really works?
Great. Okay. Yeah, I always start off with the fact that everybody has free choice and free will. So whenever I give a message from spirit, I always say, you can accept it or you can choose not to go down that path. It's your decision. Um, what I get with you is that you're an incredibly determined person. And when you set your mind to something, you tend to be really adamant about that process. And I feel like sometimes you can be a little bit stubborn, and you'll push forward, and you'll disregard all the people saying, hey, 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 what you doing? No, 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 I'm not listening to you. This is what I want to do. Whether it's right or wrong is immaterial, but you are determined and you're single-minded when it comes to achieving your goal. But it's always done with a huge heart. Things coming up for you for this year, there's a lot of abundance in very different ways. Now, when I say the word abundance, everybody always thinks, oh, it's going to be lots of money and everything like that. Yes, money does play a role in it, but it's about abundance in all different areas of your life. So I get a sense of there being abundance in your career path, in abundance in your finances, abundance in your relationships, abundance in the decisions that you're making. So for me, it feels like this is a very, very positive year for you for achieving success and goals that you've set out for yourself over the last number of years. And I feel like this is the year for you to achieve them. So it being a number 4 year globally, and it's the year of the dragon, that means you've got the fire and passion to achieve success for yourself and laying down a new solid foundation. I do see that you are going to be interacting with a lot of very influential people this year, and it's going to take you in a very, very unplanned direction, more than you ever thought you would go. It's kind of like you have this goal that you want for yourself, but the universe is saying, sorry, Nolia. You may think you know what you want, but the universe is going to take you somewhere else. But when you get there, you realize, oh my goodness, this is exactly what I needed going forward. So be open to change as well. There is going to be a change coming up for you in June and July. So, and there is travel as well, lots of travel connected.
Okay. Okay.
Any questions you wanted to ask about?
So the comment is about the first comment that you made, that I set a goal and I'm very determined. is right on point. I've gotten in trouble that way where I didn't heed the signs where the universe was telling me, don't do this, don't do this. And when I say heed the signs, I want to make it very plain for our listeners. Heeding the signs means when something gets in your way to stop you from going forward and you ignore it or you go around it or you push through it instead of going, oh, maybe I shouldn't be doing this because this interrupted me, that interrupted me, this interrupted me, I'm going the wrong direction. So you're absolutely right on point. I'm one of those people. I have to consciously take pause now because I see a goal, I want
And
to
that's
get there. Like
important.
that.
Exactly, especially now, this year, you have to pause before jumping into a decision, because it's so important in the direction you're going to take. Is not to just jump in blindly and say, oh, I'm going to do this and be
Right.
like that, blinkers on and going forward. So they're saying particularly pay attention to it. That's why they brought it up at the very beginning. It's like, don't be stubborn about a door that's closed. You don't need to open it or you don't need to kick it down. There is a door right next door that is standing open. That is like probably that much away from the one that's closed. So all you have to do is that to that. It's just that much. So it's that's tiny shift in your
Right.
perspective and your journey. And that's where your success comes from.
Beautiful. Thank you. Now, is there a difference between having me in person and having me online? Like when you're connecting, I know that, okay, this is going to sound a little, no, it's not going to sound strange to you. You would understand that. I remember being in such a blissful state one time when I was with a person who did not ask me permission to connect. And I could literally see from her third eye a connection coming place. And I just like repelled it because like, I didn't give you permission to connect with me. Stop. Stop. You know,
Yeah.
but like a connection takes place. I could literally feel and see a connection took place. Can you
Yes.
talk about that a little bit as you work with me?
Yeah. For me, it feels like no matter where we are in the world, like you're in Angola, I'm in South Africa, I've spoken to people, Australia, New Zealand,
Right.
America, Canada, all over the place. And it doesn't matter as long as I can hear the voice and I can or see the person. I normally do Zoom or I can hear them on the telephone. I make a connection because
Okay.
um, this is guided by spirit. Just as when we're doing healing, you can do distance healing. The person doesn't have to be in the room for you to do the healing. And that's the same thing with my energy. It's like I make a connection, and as long as I can make a connection, person's asked for a reading, which means they've given permission. Um, and I've gone completely online. I very, very, very rarely now see people in person in South Africa. I've gone completely online. I feel like it's a much better. I feel like it's better for me, for my energy. Um, to the fact that I sometimes feel like I'm becoming a little bit of a hermit because I don't go out very often. Um,
Okay.
because there's just so much energy out there, and my antennas are always firing. Um, I went shopping the one day with a friend of mine, and we were in the supermarket, and I was at the counter, and I was paying for something at the counter, and I suddenly looked at this woman, and I could just see a person standing behind her, just wrapping her arms around her, just hugging her. And this person said to me, "Just tell her I'm okay." And I thought, I'm in the middle of a supermarket. Damn
Yeah.
it, that's not
Yeah.
fair. And
Yeah.
as the woman gave me my change, I took her hand and I said, and I can't remember what the person's name was. I said, so and so said she's okay, to just let you know that she's okay. This woman was just pouring tears afterwards. She had to move away from the till and go and calm herself. And I thought, oh my goodness,
Yeah.
and that's one of the reasons why I don't want to go out, because I always say, there's that American woman, Teresa Caputo, who always goes to all the shops and she's always giving messages and stuff like that. I said, oh, I've Caputoed it again. Stop doing that. I don't like doing that because I always feel like you're right. You've got to have that person's permission. But maybe I feel that sometimes I get put in somebody's path to give them a message they need to hear at that moment, whether they realize it or not.
I
I remember
agree.
walking down the aisle of a supermarket, and there was this old lady walking up towards me, and I was pushing my trolley, merrily going and doing my stuff. And I literally, as I got past her, my trolley stopped. And something said to me, hug this lady. And I thought, here we go. And I turned and I said, hi. And she goes, hello. And I said, can I give you a hug? She says, I would love a hug. And we held each other, and we just held, and she held me as if her life depended on it. And all I said to her is, you know what? It's going to be okay. Trust that God knows what's happening, and he's going to help you through this. She says, thank you. Just the day before, both her and her husband had been diagnosed with cancer.
Okay.
Right place, right time, right message. So, and I still get in awe of this gift of mine. I'm still like, did I say that? Did that come from me? And I think that that's why I've had the connections that I've had, and that the people that are surrounding me are the kind of people that are loyal to me and connected to me, is because of the fact that I don't take myself seriously. I don't put myself above everybody else. You know, I'll be the one sitting underneath you trying to push you up like that, because I
Right.
believe that we all need to shine in our own way.
Right. Right. You know, and what you said is so important, because many times spirit works through all of us. First of all, people will pray, right? And they're like, oh, help me, help me, help me. You know, I need this change in my life. But the key thing that you said is that a lot of times messages come through people, they come through circumstance and people. And we as human beings, our first initial reaction is typically to ignore what people say, or we're in such a state of emotion that we miss the message. You know, if you're praying for a circumstance to change, if you're praying for something to take place, and you're saying, dear God, give me a sign, give me a sign, it comes through people.
Exactly.
It comes through the change in the circumstance, and how, you know, one minute it would look devastating, the next minute everything looks like it's falling into place, right? But we as individuals, a lot of time we miss the messages. You know,
Yes.
it's as simple as this. I walk into a convenience store and I'm traveling, and, you know, it's one of those truck stops, whatever. And I look at a person, and inside my instinct, my higher voice says, tell that person they look beautiful today.
Mm.
And we go, I'm not going to tell her she looks beautiful. She's going to think I'm crazy, you know? And that instinct says, again, tell her she looks beautiful today. And because we don't act on that, we miss opportunities where spirit is working through us in order to impact somebody's life in a positive way. I now act on those instincts. So I understand what you're saying. And when somebody says, or when I get that higher voice that says, tell her she looks beautiful, just a simple message, just a simple, maybe I'm working at the most basic of the moments, you know, but I'll say, oh, you look so beautiful today, or smile, you know, you have such a beautiful smile, you'll be blessed today, or whatever that case is. They need that message at that moment. You might be the confirmation that spirit is sending in order for that person to understand something else that's taking place in their life. And I didn't realize that until one time I was at the doctor's appointment. I was going for a regular checkup, and there was another woman opposite me. So there we are, sitting in our robes, waiting for this doctor's checkup, right? It was a mammogram or something like that. And, you know, something in me said, talk to her. Okay, I talked to her, and I end up hearing a story, and I end up validating that, you know, she had been taking care of somebody for like 15 years, and she was devastated because she was about to shift her life, and she was at this precipice of a decision of, do I shift my life and get somebody else to care for them, or do I stay because of the guilt and the feeling of separation and feeling like she was abandoning them, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And I was the person that came in to say, it's okay, because I could feel
Yes.
it. I could feel it through me, telling her, it's okay. You did what you were supposed to do. No one's going to look badly at you, especially on the other side. It's okay. And that you've been a blessing in this person's life, and it's okay for you to move on. you know, and she needed that outside validation. And there I was, a woman in the doctor's office. She had no ties to me, nothing, didn't know her from any walk of life. But the
Yes,
message came through me to tell her it's okay, you know, and
exactly.
that those things, those particular instances are so important to act on. So I asked this also in the light of that, which is that we all have a little bit of a gift, don't we?
Yes, we all have intuition. We're all born fully open and connected to God or the source or whoever we connect to. And it's only when we start to live in the world that people put hats on us and cover up our third eye. So they put on this hat and they cover up your third eye. They tell you not to think for yourself, tell you not to believe in what you're
Mm.
doing, become the little worker bee in a sense. Instead of being the queen bee, you've got to be a worker bee like everybody else. So they teach you, they dumb you down, they suppress those things. But there
Okay.
are people out there that buck the system, you know what I mean, or go against it because their energy is far greater than being kept restrained their entire life in terms of their gifts and abilities. So, and I'm finding that now there's a lot of more people in this world that are more awake, that are more in tune, that are more able to take their intuition and follow through on it. There's a lot of things. There's a wonderful word called synchronicity, and the synchronicity is when you see things that are happening 3 or more times in your life, where you connect with people, or you see different signs, or you hear the same thing repeated, things like that. And people are seeing that a lot more in life now, where they're being chosen, they've been sent down a specific path. And then there are people like yourself and me that come along that just give them that little heads up, like, oh, okay, keep going. That's the way you need to go. That maybe, oh, that's it. You're just showing that little signpost. Those people on the side of the road with the little signs that do the twirling and all the sign twirlers. They just think that way, off you go. Be your incredible self. Keep going. And I feel like that. For me, it's such a privilege to see people, how they change and evolve, and how things have changed in their lives, and where they were when I first met them and saw them to where they are now. So that's always fascinates me. I remember a particular lady came to see me. She was just at the end of her tether. She had lost everything. She'd lost her job. She was about to lose her home, about to repossess her car. And I mean, she was really just like, what more can the universe throw at me? And then while we were there during the reading, she got a message that her dog was ill and had to be put down. So, I mean, she was just broken. And this psychic medium tells her, don't worry, everything's going to be okay. Within 10 days, you're going to have left the country and you're going to be living in another country and have a job. She was so infuriated with me, she got off the table and she left, mumbling under her breath. What a waste of my last bit of money, and I come and you don't give me any solutions. 18 months later, I get a call, a message for a booking, take the booking, and this person turns up and it's this lady. And she walks in and she said to me, one of the things I want to do before we sit down is say, I'm sorry, and can I give you a hug? I said, sure, and we give her a hug. She sits down. She says, the very next day, she got a call from an agency that had recruited her to be an au pair. The family paid her airline ticket to the States, and she left 4 days later to the States. I said, you
Wow.
see, the universe got rid of everything so that you didn't have to have any attachments and you could easily pack your bag. So sometimes when you get a message and you think, that's not me, or that's not possible, I don't know how that could be possible, I don't see any evidence of it, just let the universe work. Because the universe is taking you down that road, and the universe is opening and closing the doors for you. And that
Mm.
did it for that specific lady.
And it's beautiful because that's what the universe does. It opens and closes doors. And I actually when I'm working with my clients, I'm like, we are on a path and we're just walking down that path. And if you can let go of some of the emotional baggage, what you will realize is that a door opens, a door closes, a door opens, you peek through. Is that where I want to be? No, I don't want to be there. You back up and you let it close. Or you peek through and you go, this is where I want to be, and you walk in.
Yes.
Fully. And that's what life is just being able to recognize the paths that are taking place and the doors that are opening and closing. And that, to be aware of our emotional baggage, because emotions can be a distraction to understanding that the door has opened. Because if you're so busy in an emotional state, you're not recognizing that the door is open or the door is closed. Right? You're banging against a closed door, or you're not recognizing the door is open, saying, come in, come in, come in. And you're so busy going, drama, drama, drama. And you miss the opportunity. And then the universe has to go through whatever it goes through in order to reorchestrate it again, if that's the case. So it's interesting that that's how life can be, like that's one way of looking at life, period, all the way across the board. Now, I'm sitting here thinking, if I am a person who wants to embark on like the same thing that you're doing, right? And some of us, we're not born with an innate gift of like, this is where my strength is. But like you said, we all are capable of it. So therefore, if I wanted to develop it, I wanted to work on it to make that my innate strength, what would you share with those who are in that path of wanting to do psychic ability, wanting to enhance that particular aspect of their gifts, but not necessarily there yet?
Yeah. You have to be 1000% vulnerable. Okay. And that's a weird thing to say to somebody when you're wanting to develop something or work on something. You have to be 1000% vulnerable, because you're going to have people, saying things to you and poo-pooing it and really just putting you down. But there's going to be a lot of people that are going to say, wow, this is amazing. So you have to be vulnerable. You have to accept that this is the path you want to follow. Not everybody's going to be accepting of it.
Okay.
And that sometimes people think, but that's afterwards, after I've done everything, after I've done all the training, that's what I've got to deal with. No, you've got to deal with that first, because if you can't get past that ability to let go of ego, okay, and not give a damn of what people think, then you're ready. Then you can step into the oneness of who you are. You can then develop yourself. The best thing to do is to sit in silence, is to sit in the stillness of who you are as a human being, going within, connecting to your source, connecting to the divine, and just letting the energy flow.
Okay.
And I feel like that's the most important thing, is that you can let the energy flow, then the messages will flow.
Okay.
One of the little techniques I used to use with people is that once they started coming onto the course with me, I would say to them, okay, I'd take a photograph, just a random photograph, and I'd put it in an envelope, and I'd do about 8 or 10, depending on how many people were on the course. Say there was 8 people, I'd have 8 photographs, different, in an envelope, and I'd hand it out to everybody. And they would have to sit and hold the envelope in their hand and meditate on what they thought was on the photograph, like visualizing it. Close your eyes, visualize it. What do you see? What image comes to mind? It could be the color green, or it could be a car, or it could be a person. And there was once I did that with a group of people, and the person was very doubtful about their abilities. And she wrote the word water and 2 female. That's all she wrote, 2 women and water. And we opened it, and it was a picture of a man and a woman next to a swimming pool. So she said, you see, I got it wrong. It's a man and a woman. I said, yeah, but the man's gay. So he comes over as a female energy. So that's why you got 2 women. I said, so you were 100% correct. Water is the pool. So, sometimes you have to take away the doubt of what you're thinking and feeling.
Right.
Um, you have to have a certain amount of tact, because sometimes you can't just say, oh, you know what, you know, your husband's
Blah, blah,
cheating on
blah.
you, he's
Yeah.
going to divorce you, and you've got to just say, you know what, maybe in another way you would say, okay, I need to maybe look at fixing your relationship. I feel like your communication is broken with your partner. Maybe you need to be sitting down and having proper communication with your partner and the path that you're following. So you do it in a different way. So you've got to have a bit of savvy with that. You can't say, oh, your husband's cheating with you, kick him out. That's not how
Right.
to fix it.
Right. Right.
So
Understood.
you've got to word it in a way. I had a thing where a woman came to see me and I could see her husband dying of a heart attack. And I was like, oh, okay, how do I say this? I can't say, well, your husband's going to die of a heart attack. And so I broached, I said, oh, okay, I see some health issues around your husband. I said, he's been overdoing it and overworking and not taking care of himself. And I see issues with the blood pressure. So I brought it in slowly so that she could be accepting of the fact that, okay, I said, you know what, if he doesn't look after himself, there is going to be issues down the road that could be, life threatening, to do with the heart and lungs. And so he needs to take care of that. And she
Right.
did, and he changed his life around, and he changed his lifestyle. And he went to the doctor, and the doctor said, if you hadn't have come in, you would have been prime candidate for a heart attack. So
Wow.
sometimes you can do that.
And then the other
Um,
point that you're bringing right here and now is that we can change our destiny.
exactly.
We can change our
Because nothing
that
is set in stone.
we always have a choice. Spirit brings us to this pathway, and this is really important. And I want to emphasize this with our audience too, because we're presented with decisions. And in this world that we have right now, we make instantaneous decisions. We've forgotten how to take pause. Take pause at the decision. We tend to take pause at grand decisions, but we've forgotten how to take pause in even small ones. And sometimes it's
Exactly.
the small ones that take us on a completely different path that change the course of our life and makes an improvement. And so the key that I'm getting from you right now is like take pause. Take pause in the
Yes.
decisions that you make. Take a look at the decisions you're about to make. And don't just make them instantaneously. And maybe this is a message back for myself. And you'll be able to answer that. Make sure you take pause. I'm hearing myself too. It's like clicking,
You
right?
see what I mean about those little nuggets.
Yes. Yes, 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 yes. And and emphasize taking pause and just emphasize, I'll get back to you, and emphasize, okay, I have all of the information in front of me. Let me sit with it for a little bit. And then take pause and sit with it and just make that decision that truly is where your heart honors. And not with just your head too, because our heart thinks also just like our brains do. So we got to get back to our heart because we have so many things that condition us away from our hearts to be headstrong.
Very much
Yeah.
so, and we have to be conscious of the fact that, yes, sometimes we have to, because if you're looking at something up close, it becomes blurry. And so, especially when you're on your phone and then you've got to, especially with the glasses, you're getting older, you have to move it further away. And that's a perfect example, is that sometimes you have to move it further away for the clarity to happen.
Yes.
Because otherwise, you're just seeing with a blur. And you think, oh, did that say 7 or 8? And then okay, it's an 8. So you're pulling it back slightly. And that's what you have to do in your own life, is you've got to just step back slightly, that you can see an overview of what's coming. Because if you're too close to a situation, you can't see the wood for the trees. And so you just step back and okay, this is not a forest. This is only like 10 trees in a row, but I'm so close to it, I can't see the fact that I can go this way or that way around the situation.
Right, right. I can't believe we're coming up on an hour already. And
Wow.
yeah, the time went by so fast. I can't even begin to thank you enough But what I would love for you to do is I would love for you to share just that last little bit of wisdom that you would want our studio audience to know or to hear out there. And then also, I would love for you to share how they can reach out to you, how they can become your client. And I'll be happy to keep that in the episode description box too. So,
So, words of wisdom for this year. I think that in a way, this is a very enlightening year. And I think we already have seen evidence of it in the beginning months of this year already. A lot of things are coming to the surface. A lot of things are being exposed and brought to the surface because we need to know the truth now of the path that we're following, the life that we're living, and that not everything we hear is the truth. And discerning and knowing what is the truth and what isn't the truth is important. I think that there is going to be some really incredible changes, even in the midst of all the turmoil that's happening, floods and disasters. We've also had flooding here in South Africa, crazily here in Durban, along the coastline, Dubai, and even the States and stuff like that. It comes on almost as a cleansing of the area. And people say, but why cleansing? Because sometimes we need that. We need sometimes a disaster or something to happen in our lives or in the world to make us see things more clearly. And I think for us, it's about finding our truth and finding clarity of thought. I think that's important. Is we need to see clearly. You know, I can see clearly now the rain is gone. I can see more obstacles in my way. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's what's happening, is that there is this like awakening that's happening for a lot of people. People are suddenly waking up and thinking, oh, I'm not happy with this anymore. I want change. I want to do something different with my life. But what? I'm used to being a mechanic my whole life. I'm used to being a bank executive. I'm used to being a nurse. What do I do now? You know, if I don't do this, what do I do? We can do anything. If we set our minds to it, we can do anything we want. We've got to have the passion and ignite the fire within. So ignite the dragon within, which is this year, the dragon. Ignite that passion and live your purpose.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. And how can people reach you? How can they connect with you or have a reading with you?
Well, I do have a podcast called Psychic Talk on YouTube. I'm also on Facebook, Psychic Medium Priscilla Gendron. And also, I'll leave my email and telephone number with you to put in the description. And people can contact me in that way as well.
Beautiful. Thank you so, so much, Priscilla. It has been a beautiful, enlightening, and thoughtful talk. I am so grateful for you to have shared your wisdom and to share your story. And I just want to say that what an honor it's been to share this time with you.
Thank you very much for having me on your show. It's been an absolute pleasure. I always enjoy having conversations with you because it takes us on an incredible journey. So thank you.
And I love being on that journey with you. Thank you. So this has been another episode of The Infinite Way, where spirituality meets humanity. And if you like what you saw, please like us. Please share this episode with someone you love or someone who is embarking on wanting to be a psychic. And absolutely, please, please subscribe. Thank you very much. And we'll see you next time. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.